All right, welcome into Setting the Edge, Week 18. We made it to the finish line one way or another. It is the end of the regular season. We are here talking about our NFL competition, picking 5 games against the spread as we do each week. The spreads this week, the games this week are weird. Week 18 is a difficult week to bet on. If you were ever going to take a week off of the NFL, it should be this week. And I say that as someone that always wants to bet more and more. And like, there's games tomorrow, and my card is light. I don't have a lot this weekend. So just proceed with caution. Obviously, there are a lot of teams playing for postseason opportunities. There are other teams that are not motivated in any way whatsoever. You can also think about it from the player prop side of things. There are guys that need 75 yards receiving to get $1.4 million. And, like there's some things that you can play into that. Just keep in mind that like the books definitely are aware of that too. It's not a secret at this point with when you find a tweet from 3 days ago on Twitter, it's kind of cooked into the line at this point. So just keep that in mind, but we will jump into our competition. I am joined by Ray and Andy. Both of these guys sitting basically at the top of the contest right now. You can see the standings on the screen. Andy, 50-30, 5-0 week last week. We were like closing in on him, and then now he comes back with a 5-0 week. Really, the whole group, though, you see Major and Ray both went 4-1. Tony and I went 3-2. So as a group, we dominated last week. But the competition standings 50-30 for Andy. Major is 49-30-1. Ray 48-31-1. So one game back of Major, and then there is a gap to me and Tony. We're trying to catch up, but we're kind of running out of time with really the postseason left. So we'll give our best. Tony is obviously not here. Major is thankfully not here, and we'll go up with these 3. And I know there are some people here that are waiting for us to talk Jimmy Butler stuff. We are going to be joined, I believe, by Digital Adele at some point after we do the NFL talk. We'll hop into a little bit of Jimmy Butler talk since there was some news that dropped just before we came on here. There's been lots of content all day. I think there's been 2 podcasts. Ray's had Spaces last night. I was listening to a little bit after the game. Like it's if you're not able to find Heat content, Jimmy Butler content at this point, you're deaf, blind, and maybe you're on you're on Blue Sky or something like that. I don't know, whatever it was. Like, anyways, so we'll jump right in. And Andy, we will let you go first, as we always do, with our Bet House special.
As we always do, because I'm number 1 in the competition. Yes, sir.
That's right.
Only one with like 4 or 5-0 weeks. Yes, sir. I have to let y'all know. To start, I'm going to hit something that I never do because I never bet my home teams. But the Bet the House special, Fins versus Jets -1, Miami Dolphins. Brother, easier money will not be made this weekend. I know it's already past the first. Pull back that rent money. Drop it. You're going to pay 2 rents in a row with one play. One play. I don't care if you got Tyler Huntley, Tyler Thingpeg, Tyler Hero at quarterback. It don't matter. It don't matter. These Jets are trash. Rodgers clocked out. Garrett Wilson going to be playing for Baltimore next season. No one on the Jets is going to care. I don't care how cold it's going to be. Give me my Fins. Even if we don't make the playoffs because Broncos probably going to beat the Chiefs. Tight. So it took care of business earlier. It don't matter. Make the play and make some bread.
Ray, you got anything on this game?
Go away.
Andy, the only way I'm catching you is if I go some game theory, and I do not trust the Dolphins in the cold. It is going to be freezing cold on Sunday. I'm going to go Jets on the pick. Aaron Rodgers, potentially his last game before he heads off for a ayahuasca retreat. Has a great time this summer. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with my Aaron Rodgers. But to your point, we welcome Adele. Appreciate Adele stopping in. He's going to feel free to jump in via this. We can talk NFL nonsense. You don't have to make picks if you don't want to, but we'll talk Jimmy Butler at the end. You can. Part of the thing is, though, you have to understand if you've never watched before, you just have to like completely laugh and bullshit at Andy's stuff. That's
it is a requirement that you make fun of Andy.
You can't come on here if you're going to respect Andy in any real sort of fashion. So I apologize for that. Ray, give your first pick.
All right. First of all, because this is the New Orleans Saints are involved, I'm going to preface everything by saying I want to give a heartfelt condolence to the people of New Orleans. and anybody that lost their lives in the tragedy that happened over New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, whichever. I love the city of New Orleans. It's very near and dear to my heart, and to see something like that happen, genuinely, it broke my heart. And I hope that we find some justice, find some resolve, and that, if you're having problems, anything like that, make sure you reach out to somebody in a time like this. With that being said, because we will continue with the New Orleans theory, I am not picking the New Orleans Saints to cover a damn thing. Y'all are out of y'all fucking mind. Spencer Rattler and that company of merry Saints are hilarious to watch. Kamara's shut down for the season. I have completely given up on Demario Davis at this point. You need to retire too, sir. You have lost a step. Father Time has caught up. Still undefeated, remains undefeated, and will always remain undefeated. And the Bucs are playing to make it into the playoffs. I believe, if I remember the standings right, the NFC South is tied. The Falcons do own the tiebreaker, and they actually need the Falcons to lose. And low key, I kind of think the Falcons will lose. We'll get to that later. But either way, the Bucs have to come in and handle business. This is a very beaten and defeated Saints team, and one last time we will see them not cover the spread. So give me the Bucs minus 13.5. It's a lot of points, but I don't care.
Andy, anything on that game?
I don't think the Bucs can cover 14 points. That's a lot of points, and I can't remember the name of the new coach, the interim coach for the New Orleans Saints.
Rizzy,
Darren Rizzi, the Rizzler. I know he's not gonna give up. It could be the fourth quarter, down 28, and he's gonna be trying to put up points, man. Fake onside kick, even though it's not allowed anymore. He don't care. So I'm not playing this game. No, that's my whole turnaround, making you think I'm gonna do a play. Not gonna
curve.
Appreciate that. Appreciate the curveball. I'm going to go to the Sunday Night Football, probably the game of the week. Vikings, Lions, 2.5 point spread in our competition. 2.5. Looks like it's still 2.5. Lions are at home playing, for seeding, playing for the division. We've ridden the Lions a lot, right? They are a covering machine. But in games like this, I have oftentimes went a different direction where I think two teams that are very even, I'm just going to take the points. I would love to have +3, but I'm going to take +2.5 with the Vikings. I really like what the Vikings have done this season. I think at some point we have to believe that they are real. They are not a fluke. They are not pretend. They are very, very good. But when we get next week, when we start talking playoff matchups or the following week, depending on what happens in this game, I am going to have a hard time trusting Mr. Sam Darnold when he gets into these big boy matchups. But for this one, I'm going to just take the points. Not because I don't like the Lions. I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries, but I would like to see the Lions win. I want to see them win the Super Bowl. But I'm going to go with the Vikings in this one. Give me 2.5.
I was right. I was this close to doing the same shit, but I can't bet against them at this point. I won't do that, but I can totally see the Vikings squeaking this out. And then on the flip side of that, in 3 weeks, they'll see each other again.
Yeah.
And the Detroit Lions will probably win. I think that the Vikings are the healthier team right now. Obviously, offensively, it really does not matter. Like, both of those teams are just going to put up huge amounts of points, regardless of the situation. But I think that the Lions defense is just a little bit too banged up to be able to put up enough of a fight to keep the Vikings away. So I'm just going to stay away from it. But I agree with Sean and everything he said. If you're going to take the Vikings, I don't blame anybody.
Andy, going on this game?
Lions minus 2.5 is parlay that with the Bet the House special of the Finns pick'em. What is wrong with you? Bro, you guys are picking against the Lions under 3 points. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
Game. This is great for game theory because
I'm
there to catch you. Yeah.
Game theory, my ass, bro. They're in the dome. They're in the Lions. Then what's wrong with you?
I get it.
What do you think Sam Darnold is?
Damn,
they just
Darnold.
beat the lowly Packers. Damn Darnold.
Damn Darnold. That boy, damn Darnold.
Who do y'all think he is, man? No, easy money.
All right, let's swing it over here for a second. Let's get Adele involved. The Bengals Steelers. Adele is a Steelers fan. That is Saturday night, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. game. Steelers are 2.5 point dogs. Adele, just give us a little information here. See if you can't persuade Andy maybe to switch a pick.
Well, one thing about Mike Tomlin, even though the Pittsburgh Steelers are still in the playoffs, he's not going to sit his guys. He doesn't rest guys. So everybody's going to play in this game. And they actually have a lot to play for, seeding wise, because they could be as high as the 3rd seed. They could go to a 5th seed, or they could be as low as, I forget how low they can exactly go. But the one thing about this game is, that Cincinnati's defense is terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. And so after the 3 straight subpar performances, they're going to really try to put up some points to get into a rhythm going into the playoffs. So I really believe that they're going to come out swinging in this game and try to put up some points, get a rhythm going into the playoffs. So that's my take on it. Pickens is back. Get that running game going. We'll see what happens.
I like George Pickens anytime touchdown, by the way, fans.
I like that. What's the other? It's Browns and Ravens. Is the other game tomorrow?
Yeah.
Browns, Ravens. That's a big one because if the Ravens lose, the Steelers can still get the 3rd seed.
Again, if the Ravens lose against the Dorian Thompson-Smith-led Browns.
I don't think Dorian is he going to is he starting for sure?
Jameis isn't. I know Jameis isn't starting.
Ugh.
And it can't be Deshaun Watson, so the only guy left is
Browns is going to Brown. Jeez.
Yeah. Are either of you guys on that Steelers-Bengals game?
Bro, the Bengals is so easy money. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to hit on you, bro, but Bengals minus 2.5. These teams are too good to only be favored by less than 3 points. I don't care if they're on the road, man. At home, it don't matter. Joe Burrow is going to do his thing. He's going to do his thing, bro. Give me the Bengals, man. This is an easy week.
Major. If you're watching, we're catching up this week, buddy. Ernie, if you're watching, we're going to pass Andy this week.
I'll caution you
Bro.
one thing about Joe Burrow against the Steelers. He's been sacked like 6 times in the last 2 games against them. Last game, he had 2 fumbles. TJ Watt got him. Alex Highsmith got him. They're going to put up points, though. That's the one thing about Cincy. That offense is so good with T. Higgins on one side, Chase on the other. And they've been throwing to Gesicki a lot more over the middle. But we got Joey Porter Jr. back. Like I said, they're going to try to end going into the playoffs on a high note. We'll see what happens, though.
And I'm
That
riding.
info
with
is
that.
very cool. However, forgot to highlight last game, not this game.
Oh, my God. Andy, pipe down, damn it.
What about last game?
No, Andy. I'm not just picking opposite of you, like letting you make a pick and then going opposite, but I already had the Steelers down plus 2.5. So now we are 3 for 3 opposite, which could really do well.
Come on, Sean.
I'm hoping.
Come up the mountain.
Yeah,
No, yeah, y'all gotta put this on a parlay. Everybody who's watching, put me on a parlay, bro. We're all gonna call out work on Monday. All of us.
But look, because of that, right now we have 3 picks and Ray has 1 pick. So let's get Ray to give some picks here so he can participate.
All right, yeah. So I brought up earlier the other NFC South team that is looking to make the playoffs, and
Ray, I didn't want you to lose your joy. I'm sorry. I missed the opportunity for the joke there. I think you were standing in the corner while we were playing the competition. So bring your joy back.
God, it's so sad, man. Shit. Maybe I can find it in a different town. Who knows? Yeah, anyway, the Falcons are also trying for a playoff spot, and this is the thing. I think Michael Penix is cool. They did the right thing by benching Kirk Cousins. I don't even understand why they gave Kirk Cousins all that money. But the Panthers like to score the ball for some reason down the back stretch of this season. And the Falcons defense is kind of funny because they'll play really well, and then they will just absolutely drag their ass across the floor like a dog with worms. So I kind of think in one of the biggest, the biggest games of their season, truly, like you're going to the playoffs, you just win and you're in, as simple as it gets. They're going to drag their ass across the floor like a dog with worms. I think they probably still win this game, but 7.5 and Bryce Young just kind of be slinging that joint around. I take my chances with it. Give me the Panthers, my plus 7.5. And then I guess I got to give a second one.
Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
I don't care if there's who the Bills are sitting, who they're not sitting. If the Patriots have any sense that is common, any type of football intelligence whatsoever, You go out there and you lose by 1 billion fucking points. I don't care what you have to do. You go out there, you secure, I believe, the number 1 pick? Yeah, the number 1 pick in the draft. You pipe the hell down. You got Drake May. You go best player available, and you don't fuck this up like the Las Vegas Raiders did, okay? Or the Giants, because I'm looking at you guys too. But with all that being said, the Patriots are not winning this game. If they do, get move them out of New England, because that's just absolutely stupid of you. Bills -3.
And move them to like Vermont.
Andy, were you on either of those two games? Panthers or
No.
Bills?
However, if I'm New England, Cam Ward. Move Drake May to like fullback.
That's worse than fucking Kyler Murray MVP.
Yeah, that's worse than your Kyler Murray take.
Having Cam Ward on your team is never a bad idea. Relax.
I was on the Panthers with Ray, so that's my 4th pick. I have one left. Let me go to Andy now, give his 4th pick.
Yo, 4th pick. This might be the easiest. No, actually, I'm not. I'm a little worried about this pick. Actually, minus 19.5. I'm not going with that. I'm going with plus 19.5. The Cleveland Browns against the Baltimore Ravens. The Browns are bad, but they're not that bad. 19.5. Like that's bad for college football spreads, bro. That's like Ohio State versus Ohio.
That's kind of what this is right now.
That's like North Texas versus Texas. Like, no, they're not losing by 19.5. That's insane. That team actually cares. Dorian Thompson cares, even though he's very bad. I think Bray said he might not be starting. Neither he does. It's too many points, bro. So many points.
Is anybody else on that game? Yeah, I'm not on that game. I'm not trusting that.
Edo, who do you think? You know a little bit about the AFC North. Who do you think will win? Like the spread.
All the AFC North games are close games. None of them are 19-point games.
Precisely. 4-0. Thank you.
The NBA Players Association will soon file a grievance against the Miami Heat for the suspension.
I wanted to talk about that. You
grievance?
We're almost there. We're almost there. I think
Bro,
we got
what?
Got like 3 more
left.
picks. Got 3 more picks. All right, so Andy's got 4. Ray, give your 4th.
I kind of fought and struggled with this, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to do it, but I smell the spider trap late in the season.
Oh.
I do. I see it. I saw it. The Colts are going to fuck some shit up some kind of way. I don't know how, don't know why, but this Jags plus 3.5 is where I spy ye old spider trap. Or I'm sorry, Colts minus 3.5 is where I spy ye old spider trap. So I am going to avoid the spider trap. I'm going to be the spider, and I'm going to take Jags plus 3.5 to end the season. That's a wild thing to do because I think the Jags are actually the worst. No, that's a lie. They're the second worst team at covering because the Titans are the worst. But either way, there's a spider trap afoot. I am the spider. Jags plus 3.5.
Andy, what do you got for your 5th pick? Are you on that game?
Bro, no, I'm not on that game, but Titans minus 1.5 against anyone. Bro, what? Give me Houston plus 1.5. What is wrong with Las Vegas? Who put these lines, bro?
I'm telling you, week 18 is not easy because you're looking at teams and you're forgetting about motivation in a lot of cases. But to your point, bad teams are bad teams.
Bro, who's the backup of the backup quarterback for the Houston Texans?
Oh, shit. What is his name?
Like David Carr?
No, it's the same guy that was there before they drafted Stroud. Yeah,
Mr. Georgia, number 1 overall recruit over Trevor Lawrence 2017. Did y'all forget? I know Sean remembers. Legendary matchup between the Jaguars and the Texans back in the day. He's back, and he's ready for some veggies against his AFC South foes. Davis Mills is going to kick some ass. Yes, that's my 5th pick.
Ray, what's your 5th pick?
Now I don't even want to. Cardinals minus 4.5. I'm done with the 49ers and their bullshit. I'm over it. I don't care. Brock Purdy's probably hurt too. I don't know if he is playing, but it had a little bit of nonsense with the nerve in his throwing arm at the end of his last game. If he is playing, cool, don't care. If he isn't playing, that just makes this a little bit easier. But I still think the Cardinals kind of go out there, and there's a couple guys, if I remember right, that still have some incentives that they can kind of go out and collect. And Kyler Murray might try to put on one last MVP show for, Andy to get that MVP from last year that he never got and win his bet. And again, I'm just kind of done with the 49ers. Like I just am. And this is also like one of those nonsensical like divisional games that like the team that you expect to win is probably not going to win. And the 49ers in the grand scheme of shit should win this football game, but Cardinals -4.5.
All right, my last one, and I don't love this one because I just thought about this with Hurts out and Pickett's injured with his ribs. But I'm going to go Eagles -2.5 because I think the Giants suck. And I think the Eagles are going to still play somewhat to win. I know that they're resting Barkley and all that shit, but I'm gonna go Eagles -2.5. They're at home. It's going to be cold. They're going to run the ball. Even if it's a game well out there, I think they can do enough to take advantage of a bad Giants team that's not going to be motivated to try to win because of the draft. Sorry for the interruption. That's Ethan, and I have no idea of anything that's going on. It's literally about making sure the YouTube is set up correctly. So don't read into that. I'll see if I can get him to give us something. But anyways, let's pivot now. So we appreciate you all joining us. We appreciate Ray and Andy here every week for setting the edge. We make our picks 5 games every week. But I would imagine that the 1,200 of you that are here live with us are probably not here because you want to hear about our shitty gambling picks. You are here because you want to talk about Jimmy Butler. Because, damn it, that's what we've talked about basically nonstop now for roughly 24 hours. Right about this time last night, Jimmy was standing in the corner, playing patty cake by himself, not being involved, maybe playing point guard at different times. And now we've had explosion after explosion after explosion. So I didn't look, but Adele, can you update us? I guess something happened while we were recording.
Yeah, Shams had reported that the Players Association is filing a grievance on Jimmy Butler's behalf to appeal his suspension. And we all know what that's about. That's about the money, not really the playing time.
Mm-hmm. And this is also kind of like standard procedure for the Players Association too. It doesn't matter.
For sure.
It literally does not matter what you do. They're going to file a grievance. And I think even I retweeted this, that the suspension itself is moot because it's going to get, they'll obviously file the grievance. It will more than likely get reduced. But like, even so, it doesn't matter. Like I just can't imagine that him doing that and then this coming out, he hasn't played his last game as a Miami Heat player. Like, part of this too is genuinely like, I think if I remember right, because I've been saying this and I'm not kind of sure, but the NBA changed the rules on how if you're healthy, you're playing basketball. We can't send you home. No, I'm not sending you home no more. You don't get back-to-backs off and all that nonsense. And they can't just tell Jimmy, if that's the case, all right, just go home. And we'll trade you and it'll be done. No, like you actually have to suspend him because if he doesn't want to be here and has no joy and he wants to be traded and he's kind of a detriment to the Heat when he's on the court because he's not engaged and you can't tell him just go home, then you suspend him and you trade him. And this is going to suck and be miserable for a lot of people, but welcome to the new world. And I hate this shit.
Dal, go ahead.
Well, one of the questions I had when it was first announced that, they were going to suspend him or not play him, I was wondering what the rules were with the new player availability. And Ira Winderman did put out that the rule states that under unusual circumstances, they may be absolved of that player availability rule. So would this fall under that exception? That's going to be up to the league office in terms of the exception in regards to that. The other thing Ira tweeted out was that the appeal process is a very lengthy one. And so the suspension is going to go through regardless before the appeal can probably be heard. So no matter what, the Heat are going to get like a 7-game reprieve from Jimmy Butler and an opportunity to find a deal for him.
we're purely predicting here, speculating here. What do you guys think? How does this play out? Like, okay, we have roughly 2 weeks. That suspension will take it's 7 games. They're going to go. They have 1 game at home tomorrow. Then they go on a 6-game trip.
I mean, the way I see
I'm going
it,
to share my opinion. I don't think that it's resolved by the end of that trip. Now, I know, like, I'm looking at, tweets and text and things that are going on. It's Ray and I were talking about before this. I'm already exhausted of this after one day because it's like nonstop. And some people don't agree with me, and that's fine. I'm just giving my opinion. If I'm Miami, I'm not rushing into anything. And I know it can be painful, but the pain that you have to suffer long after that he's gone by taking a deal that doesn't actually, I don't want to say help you, because you're not, at this point, you're not making a trade that quote unquote helps you. It's not like you're putting Jimmy out there like it's fantasy football and you're trading Saquon Barkley and getting back like AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb. You're getting some sort of weird, like, someone that is unhappy in their situation. It could be large expiring contracts, maybe contracts that expire in 2026 when a lot of your books clear. Young guys, some picks. You're not getting 98 cents on the dollar for Jimmy Butler. And that's okay. That ship has sailed. But if I'm Miami, I think now at the point I'm looking for trades, because in an ideal world, I get what I want and this is over with. And we're the ones that are annoyed with it. Imagine how you would feel if you're the people in that locker room. You're the people in that front office. They're tired of this shit too. And they've been dealing with it much more intensely than we do as fucking podcasters giving bad football picks, besides Andy and Ray. But like, I just don't see it happening in 2 weeks where Jimmy is somewhere else. But shit, every couple hours, this thing pivots and it's more explosive than ever. What do you, Andy or Ray or Adele, what do you guys think how this is going to play out over the next couple of weeks?
I think all right. So like, I think that he's played his last game. Like, especially if let's say the suspension runs up and he comes back and he's still a dickhead. So what, you just keep suspending him? Like, I don't envision that Jimmy's going to magically change his mind and be like, okay, I'll be a team player. So some shit come to work, like, and I'll just do what I'm supposed to do. Like, he's already said he would do that. And then he walked out on the court and took a fucking one-legged 3. And then the very next game stood in pregame and was like, I never miss these. I'm 100%. So like, I think you have to trade him, but there is a world, and Sean, you'll love this because I know how much you want to get rid of Terry, but there's a world where you just wait until the offseason. You allow him to opt in because he's going to, I say allow, he's just going to opt in. He'd be stupid to walk away from $52 million, whatever the hell it is. But he opts in, he becomes an outright expiring. You take Duncan, who is an expiring, and you take Terry, who is an expiring, and you move all 3 of them at once. And you have allowed yourself some form of recuperation on, losing Jimmy. You're not letting Duncan walk, which I think a lot of people would throw a fucking fit about. And you're getting off of Terry, which everybody will like hop about. And then on top of that, you have more than likely created salary cap. You have created picks, maybe even a player that fits with the build and the timeline and all this, so on and so forth. But like, there's options to this, but I'm telling you, man, if he acts like that, we have already seen him, quote unquote, you need me. You motherfuckers need me. That's what he told them, the Wolves GM. He's that guy's not gone.
Oh, he's done it everywhere, though. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to get into, and we can make this a topic, but I do want to add something to what you said. But Jimmy has shown us who he is at every stop. And I don't say, like, I'm not into there's a weird thing going on, and it's part of social media, but like assigning blame for one side or the other. This situation is both. It is Jimmy. It is the front office. It is a lot of people involved. Like I said this earlier when I was with Brian Fonseca. I said it to Ray pre-show. Like, we're sitting down at the table. Mom and dad just told us they're getting a divorce. And they told us, we asked why. And like, mom was boinking the like police officer next door. Dad had a side piece down the street, and we're trying to figure out who has more fault. It's both their faults that where this has come to this, right? Like, it's not one person. It's not Jimmy. It's not Pat. It's not Mickey. It's everybody that has allowed this to continue to roll down like a snowball, and now it's this giant ass boulder that we have to deal with. But I want to say this because I see the comments, and guys, if you have questions or you want us to topic, whatever, put it in the chat. We'll answer it. You want to super chat, do that stuff, but I'm not the penny pusher that some people do with us. I don't kind of partake in that. But Ray, you said he's not going to opt out, and I agree with you logically. So you're telling me, Mr. I have no joy in Miami, I'd be happy anywhere else, is going to be in Miami for the rest of the season, conceivably not playing basketball because you're probably not bringing him back. And then he's going to opt in because why would he opt in? The only reason, it's a 5-letter word. Money.
It's money. Absolutely.
So he's hiding behind this joy thing when it's really about money. That's what the truth of it has to be. So if he opts in, you're really not missing that much joy. Like we all have sometimes in our lives to make decisions that you might have to sacrifice a little bit of pleasure or joy to get what you want and be happier. And opting in defeats that purpose because then he's just going to continue to be joyless.
But this is why I think he gets moved within this 7 games. For a front office, especially a guy as prideful as Pat Riley, to put out a statement, we are not trading Jimmy Butler. And then for the organization to put out a statement today saying we're highly motivated to trade Jimmy Butler, I think the deal gets done sooner rather than later. I think they just want to move on. I think they want the team to get back to the Miami Heat culture, which is playing hard, playing together, and playing to win regardless of how talented you are. Now, you're not going to be as good of a team in the present without Jimmy Butler. Your ceiling, as far as the ceiling goes, we all know how he coasts through the regular season, so that doesn't really change much. But once you get the playoff time, your ceiling is limited. So I believe the trade happens sooner rather than later. Where that's going to be, I don't know. I can't see the Heat letting this thing sit and be a distraction all the way through the summer.
It's part of the reason. That's part of the reason that Pat came out and said, like, we're not trading him because it's been such a distraction that
correct.
Bam has to answer, Tyler has to answer, Spo has to answer. I'm sorry,
like if you saw how Tyler was acting with Brady Hawk's interview in the locker room, he was like super annoyed, even though he was laughing. He had his sunglasses on. He was looking around like, how do I get out of here? Where's my exit? Like,
right, yeah.
And I put this in the Discord, the Off the Floor Discord. This doesn't hurt Jimmy, his comments. It's a bigger nuisance to his teammates than it is to Jimmy Butler because he's going to go get suspended, not going to take any questions. But every single game in the locker room, his teammates are going to have to answer questions about Jimmy Butler.
And Spo and everybody. I mean,
and Spo, right.
And like, this is the other thing too. Like, so you're quote unquote unhappy with your role, right? Like, let's say it's not about
that's cap. It's
yeah,
cap.
Right. But let's say it's not about. Let's say I don't like my fucking role, whatever it may be. Like, okay, if you don't like it, they're like it's not like they would ever like. It's not like suddenly Jimmy does this, and let's say we don't trade him. Okay, he comes back, and again he is this magical like team player. I am all with this shit. It's like no, Jimmy's done with this shit. That's perfectly unless they pay him, which it's kind of obvious they're not gonna do that. So he's done with it. So if that's the case, and you're gonna go pout in the corner, you go stand over, you take one-legged fucking threes. Like there's actually no point to keeping him around. Like none, because to Adele's point too, like you're just gonna cause friction within the locker room, and eventually, like this is the other thing too. People pick sides. Like, and I know that like the Heat are like this one big like mafia brain and hive mind and shit, but like there's people in that locker room that I promise you one of them's like, y'all should be paying Jimmy. Like I promise you there's one person in that locker room that is on Jimmy's side. And if y'all don't think that type of shit does not breed itself and does not replicate and cause more and more problems, it does. Like Jimmy being here at this point, whether he's happy or not, is a problem. and they have to like it's one of those you got to nip this in the bud as fast as you can type of things. And I understand there's like when the trade comes out, when it comes out, because I promise you, it's not going to be, me and Andre were talking about this earlier. It's not going to be the return that anybody in the Heat fandom or really the NBA like fan base as a whole thinks is going to happen. But like it will relieve a lot of like extra noise and extra pressure and extra nonsense that the Heat just have on them at this point. Like Jimmy is a nuisance that is a problem that is like I'm done with it type of thing for them, not for me, but like they are like, all right, fine, fuck it. Like I have. They even say it in all their things. I got a job to do. We got to play basketball. This is what we're supposed to do. Like they're all still checked into this shit, or at the very minimum, they don't want to get fined, cursed out, like rock the boat. Okay, if that's the case, then let's make sure the boat don't rock no more. You got to get rid of him. You just have to get rid of him now.
And I think, the suspension, besides tomorrow being at home, all of those games being on a trip, there is some relief that comes with that, because I've seen people talk about that today. And I think I agree with that, but it's also not 1971 where they don't have their phones and they're not watching ESPN. Like, it's not like they're away from their local, Barry Jackson, Ira, and now they don't hear what's going on because they can't get access to the Miami Herald paper. Like, these questions, they're going to roll into Utah on Monday or Tuesday, whenever they play them in that back-to-back, and the local Salt Lake City Tribune or whatever reporter is going to ask about this. And then when they go to where it's going to happen every single stop along the way, because this is basically the most dominant story in the NBA right now. Like, it's exploding nonstop.
You know what's the funniest thing too is you say like it's exploding. I keep thinking back to Shams. This is the most vetted story of my whole career. Da 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 da. And the whole goddamn time it was Jimmy.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about this. I don't think I know. Like, I like Ernie. I don't know him. I've never met him, but I do like. I think he's funny. He takes the joke, except for when you're like you cross a line, and I appreciate that. He likes to point fingers about people lying, and there's other groups of fans talking about people. Ethan's lying, Barry's lying. These stories are fluid. It's not what was true a week ago may not be true anymore. Like things change, and I will say the things that I had heard, whether through Ethan or through Greg or through other people within connections. I mean, look, I was sold on they're not trading him. Mm-hmm. These are the reasons why. These conversations were had. These conversations were not had. And I was basically like, okay, I'm not listening to any of this bullshit. I trust the people I'm hearing this from. They're not going to trade it. Mm-hmm. And I think since that happened, right after like Christmas and until yesterday, things have changed drastically. And I think that's where you saw a lot of like, wait, last week you said X, and why is it now Y? Like, I think things have changed, and Jimmy's behavior has changed. And so I don't think there was lying going on. I don't think there was misreporting going on. I think that things have changed drastically. And I think the motivation, to Ray's point, ultimately, if you rewind and look back at it, you do a little autopsy here. Who was feeding Shams? It was Jimmy or someone within his group. And that now has been, I feel like, almost exposed. I don't know if that's the right word, but where the leak was coming from and the motivation behind it. And so, like, when his agent came out and, defended it, like, I think now they have essentially got caught up in a lie with the front office. Mm-hmm. That they were acting like, nope, not us. Remember, we were pointing, where is it Ernie doing? They were trying to figure it out. I think they got caught in a lie of, we're not doing it. Meanwhile, they were plugging things out to other teams, right, trying to get something going. And now they're pointing fingers back and forth at each other. And you have two very stubborn groups. And that's where we're at.
The way I read it too was, there's a couple of ways to read it, but what would be the motivation for Bernie to lie about that initially, right? Like, I think he was getting fed, I'll come back motivated directly from Jimmy Butler's camp, as the agent. And I think that he's trying to get through to Jimmy. Like, this is the best place for you to get your money. Like, if you play hard, you do what they ask, Miami will pay you and give you your money in the end. But you just got to play. You got to basically approve it situation. And I think Jimmy was like, and again, this is all reckless speculation based on some information that we know. But Jimmy was kind of like, yeah, I'll be motivated. And then the whole time he's shooting one-legged threes, being disengaged. So the information that's coming out, I think it was the agent trying to do right by his client, like, hey, Miami was the best place to get your money. And in the end, Jimmy's like, nah, man, I can get my money anywhere. I can make anybody a contender, and checked out.
I got news for you, brother. And look, to the point that Sean was making was like, I think something changed in between Christmas and now. Do y'all not remember when we were on the road trip and I think it was Christmas Day or the day after Christmas, and Jimmy and Bernie are both in the Heat's locker room playing dominoes and making, Jimmy's always kind of a cryptic guy, and he'll just say whatever, and you kind of sat and watched that stuff, and it's like, oh, they're just playing dominoes in the locker room, but they're playing a game. And for me, because this is the other thing too, one of the reports that came out either today or yesterday was that at some point the Heat had met, like the Heat's camp, or Mickey and Nick and Pat, whoever, had met with Jimmy's camp and his representative. So that's Bernie. Well, when the hell have we seen them outside of, because that's the other thing, he gets sick, rolls his ankle, starts puking out of his ankle with the coronavirus or whatever it was that he got. And I genuinely think he was sick. But I think they were like, all right, look, when you get healthy and stuff, let's try and work this out. Let's have more conversations. And they went to the Caseta Center to have the meetings, to have all the nonsense. Like, hey, let's go through this. Let's figure it out. And Jimmy did not get what he expected. I think he probably, and again, this is like Adele said, reckless speculation, but like, I told the same shit. Brother, you ain't played nothing. You ain't played shit. You ain't done a damn thing. Like, genuinely, how many games did Jimmy try this season? Like 8, 9-ish? And he's like, what is it? They're going to suspend him 7 games, right? And I saw this tweet. So at the end of the 7 games, if for some reason Jimmy gets to come back, right, and go anywhere else, he cannot miss another game, or he is ineligible for all the awards and stuff. And here's the thing. If you trade Jimmy, Jimmy's going to go try it on the other fucking side. Like, I genuinely think that they told him, you're still not trying, so we're not giving you the max. And that was the point where he was like, okay, fuck it. Let's do it. Because the other thing, too, about Jimmy, and I kind of respect this, is when he decides, no, I'm right, that stubborn sumbitch will push every button that he has available to make it be, I am right. Now, that doesn't mean he's always going to be right, but Jimmy will exhaust every single option physically possible to do this. And I respect it, but he's wrong here. He's very wrong. Like, no one's going to pay you that much money. Nobody is going to pay you that much money. There's only a handful of teams that even can pay you that money. Matter of fact, there's only one right now that can do it besides us. And you're not going to go there. You already know you're not going to fucking go there. So don't play with me in that nonsense. You're not going to, like, and we were talking earlier about, like, it's about the money. No, I get it. He does want the money. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that any human being, regardless of how much money they make, if I said, hey, you can earn $40 million in the next 2 years, they're going to fucking take it. But for Mr. Competitive, I can turn it on in the postseason, and you motherfuckers need me to win type. Jimmy still thinks that he can and will win. And so he's not going to go somewhere that's bullshit and be like, oh, I'll just spend my last 2 years making $40 million winning 35 games. No, Jimmy's going to want to go somewhere where he can try one last time to get it. He's got his money. He's going to try to.
He's not going to have a choice when it comes to the trade.
Oh, no, yeah, like now he really doesn't either. That's kind of the funny part, because like by saying you can send me anywhere. Now, granted, you have to have the other teams, kind of be playing ball with you, but saying you can send me anywhere, all right, we will. Like, that's like, to your point, Adele, like, it's time to, like, you got to get rid of them. You saying you can send me anywhere, I don't care. 29 other franchises, all right, brother, bet. one of these 29 other franchises is going to give me an offer enough for them to be like, sure.
I think Ethan pointed this out on the Off the Floor Discord. That was the best thing he could have said.
Yeah.
Because you now have some leverage. You don't, if he would have said XYZ destination, you have zero leverage in that scenario. Zero. And now their leverage is limited as it is because they want to move on from him. They've used, and this is, I keep going back to the language the organization used, highly motivated. Like, if you're using that type of language,
yeah,
you're just trying to get the guy out of town.
You already put you're suspended, bitch, on a letterhead and then posted it on the main account. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, we keep talking about, like, the language and all this. Like, just read what the Heat are like. They're fed up with this shit. They went through this over the summer. Like, and I will even say this much too, because Pat, in the grand scheme of shit, did not have to say, "Oh, is that what Jimmy said? Well, Jimmy needs to play and Jimmy needs to." You did not have to say that. Not in front of the media, not like that. You could have worded it however the fuck you wanted to, and then you could have gone to Jimmy in his face and said, "Hey, shut up. Play games. You don't do none of that to be saying that bullshit, Jimmy. Be quiet." But he didn't. And Jimmy got in his feelings about it. And now we're here. So I don't really like, he told him, play basketball games, show up, be engaged, do all this shit. I will pay you. And Jimmy said, no. So yeah, trade him.
And to your point, for him saying no, like, no, I'm just going to chill in the corner. Any star player, if they want the basketball and to dominate the possessions, they can do it.
It's like this hand motion right here.
So, well, he got the ball a lot, and he just would pass it back out to somebody else. Not attack, not look for mismatches, or, like you said, shoot one-legged threes from the corner, which we all lost our mind on playback whenever that happened. So yeah, I mean, it's complete nonsense if he's trying to use the cover of my role changed and I'm dissatisfied. Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense basketball wise.
Sean, do you remember a couple years ago when you and Tony were doing it was like the college football things or whatnot, and that fight happened, and the conversation that was kind of had about what they said, what the front office had said, and they were kind of worried about Jimmy's attitude and so on and so forth?
The college football thing.
All right, it was college basketball. It was 2 years ago during the NCAA thing when we had the fight with all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the game, if I remember right, it was the game before that, y'all were doing some space, and it was doing college basketball, like spreads and lines for the Sweet 16. That's what it was. And at the end of it, you were like, if y'all stay, I'll give y'all a little nugget. And at the end of it, the nugget was basically like, the Heat are kind of worried about Jimmy's attitude and so on and so forth. And it wasn't everybody, but it was certain people and it wasn't, you never even specified the people, but you were like, there's certain people within the organization that are kind of worried about his attitude.
Yeah, I don't think that's much of a secret at this point anymore, even before all the shit that's popped off recently. But like, he's worn out his welcome with a lot of people in the organization. And I think you could say that about a lot of people. I don't think that's unique to Jimmy. I think he is quite understandably. I think he would tell you himself. I think Bernie Lee would tell you he is not an easy person to deal with. It's just his personality. And part of the reason I think he loved it in Miami was they allowed him to be himself. He said that himself. And now at a certain point, the willingness to accept certain things and concede certain things he's worn out that welcome. And I will say this, like last, I guess what it would be about a week and a half ago when I was there, it was the previous home game to last night. They played the Nets. Jimmy didn't play, and I was around and people that I talked to that I've known, growing up and coming to games and just like known for 20 something years. You could just read the room. I said that to Greg and Brian when I was leaving the game. Like, the way that they talked about this situation, you could just hear it in their voice. They were tired of it. And I think Ray made a good point earlier. Like, it doesn't mean that everyone in the Heat organization hates Jimmy or they're tired of Jimmy or anything like that. Like, there's certainly people there that are like, sad and upset and want Jimmy to be there and want this to get rectified.
I'm sure the entire like front office is probably like, we didn't want this to happen.
No, absolutely nobody. And I don't think there's anybody within the Heat that want this to happen, but it's almost like a necessary thing that has to happen in order for this to. It was going to come to an explosive end.
I had somebody in a space. It was last night too. We were talking about this exact same thing, and somebody was like, "Why?" I can't remember the context of it. It was like, "Why can't like one of them break up with the other one, and so on?" And like, "Why did this happen like this?" And it's like, look, y'all gotta understand when you're in a relationship with somebody, you can love them, you can care about them, but there's all these little tiny things that will eventually wear and tear on you. And the example that was used was, if you're with a guy for 7 years, and for 7 years, or if you're good with a guy for 6 years and every day he pees on the toilet seat and you let it go, on the first day of year 7, you walk in there and you see pee on the toilet seat and you're like, I fucking hate you, I'm tired of you, I'm just done with this shit. Like, it just wears on you. And I'm not sitting here telling you that like Jimmy is this person that like continuously pokes and prods and pisses everybody off everywhere he goes, but like, if you don't think that the guy that they allowed to just kind of, get an Airbnb and not play, not board with the rest of the team, and just kind of like not, show up to all the functions and all the other stuff that all the other team members come to and all stuff like that, like, and then you don't play more than 65 games a year, and they pay you all that money, they'll get tired of it. They just will.
Yeah. And that's where we're at. Like, it's going to be interesting to see, like we talked about earlier, is it going to happen in the next week, in the next 2 weeks? Is it going to extend out to the deadline? Is it going to go into the summer? I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, and I don't know if there's a betting favorite on any of them. I think I would probably lean towards all parties are motivated to get this done quickly, but I also, as a objectively, like, I'm not leaving the fan base and going along with Jimmy. Like, Ernie's going to leave the fan base. He's not going to be a Heat fan anymore. He's going to be a blank fan with Jimmy. And I understand that. That's cool. So my allegiances are to the Heat, and I would like to see the Heat be patient throughout this process, even if it stings. And that's just like, not because I want Jimmy to pay, and not because I want the Heat to show him who's boss or whatever the wording that Barry keeps using. It's because there's no reason to rush into anything that you don't like. You don't need to do that.
Ultimately, though, I still see them moving quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Andy.
I didn't understand like what they. No, it's okay. Like, what does he expect? Like, let's say the end all goal is for him to get his extension. He wants to get a max extension. Cool. Does he really expect a team to trade for him mid-season and give him a max extension? Like, that's the only way the trade would make sense for him. If not, he would have just shut up and waited until the offseason. Like, is Memphis going to give him a max right now? Are the Nuggets or whoever? I'm assuming we want to trade him to the West. We don't want him in the East the next 3 or 4 years.
Well, that's a good point, because if you look at it from the other side of things, if we were just saying we're trading Jimmy Butler, trading a top 30-ish player on what could be an expiring contract, but it's a player option, right? So the team that's acquiring him has to understand that, okay, let's say that you trade him to the Washington Wizards, and he's like, I am not playing with Washington. And if you trade me there, I'm going to opt out. Well, why would Washington do that? Like, you just unless you just want an expiring contract, then you're not going to give up a lot, because then you're not going to actually, like, why would you give up a lot for a guy you're just going to want to leave? So if you are going to get an agreement out of him to, and I don't know if you can legally do it during the season, I think you can, where he can still extend, I think, until June. So could you get an agreement from him if you're Memphis or someone like that? Then all right, maybe I give up a little bit more. But also, given the circumstances of a midseason trade, when you have this guy that's being suspended for 2 weeks and doesn't want to be in Miami, and he's 35, and he's aging, and all those different things, it's not because he's bad. He's not a bad player. But at what price does it make sense for the team acquiring him as well as the Miami Heat? And I
think too, like, one of the things that there's this wild thing, and Sean, I think you even like touched on it earlier, where it's like people think that like 80-something-year-old Pat Riley is just like this washed, like, decrepit human being. He's always asleep and da 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 da. But it's like, if you like talk to like, if you could like listen to NBA circles and be like a fly on the wall with some of these other organizations, like Pat is a very revered and respected guy. And if you're sitting and watching this happen as one of those other GMs, like, oh, he might do this to us too. And we don't want to, like, I'm not putting it, like, there's no point for me to trade like him for this, or there's no point for me to extend him like this if this is just how he's gonna act. So like part of me, I'm kind of with Andre on this. Like, I don't understand why, like if you wanted to request a trade, cool, that's fine. Like, you go to Pat and them, you say, look, this ain't gonna work. Trade me. I'll show up and come to work and do all that stuff. I'll keep my value high. Y'all can do it very secretively in the background and get like the max value for me. And then I can go somewhere else and I can hoop out and get the max value for myself. But like it almost seems like he backed himself into, like, to your point, Sean, like they got caught in a lie and you backed yourself into a corner. And then it was like, well, shit, now I'm not going to get what I want. And I have to get the hell out of here because I don't want to be here no more. So it almost feels like Jimmy did that. And like he did by saying, you can send me anywhere. Like, cool, that opens up flexibility for the Heat. But also, like, you kind of fucked us because you're a dickhead. And we are, again, to your point, Sean, everybody knew you were a dickhead, but it's like, you're going to be, yeah, you're going to be a dickhead over the money now. Like, I'm not sure that I want to do this.
Let me ask you guys this about the trade. Potential trade and another team coming up with an agreement. He makes about, $600,000 per game, right? Approximately, on his max extension. His availability is the big issue. So on a max extension contract throughout a season, say he plays his 60 games that he normally plays.
I know where you're going with this.
You're basically having him sit for $7 million every season. Are you going to give up assets for that? Are you going to pay him the max for that?
What if you have somebody who already does the same thing?
Okay, who you got to coast during the regular season?
It's not coast, it's that they only play 55, 60 games a year.
Right, but he also coasts during the regular season.
Yeah, but if you know that you can at least get off of the guy that plays 60 something, 55, 60 games a year, like in the next year, even if he coasts, and you don't have to keep paying
but who do you got? Who's this guy?
Y'all gonna hate me. Fat boy from New Orleans.
Oh,
Zion.
Man. I can't trust that.
I know you can't, but at the same time, like, all right, so I get it because he's only gonna play X, but like,
what else would I get? Like, I'd have to get something else with it.
Misi.
Oh.
So like immediately you're.
I mean, it wouldn't fit with the roster construction they have now, but.
Right. Okay. So like, dude, I would have to like actually sit down. I'm not good with the trade machine. I think it's a satanic thing. But like, the core of the trade would like center around, we're gonna swap Zion and Jimmy, because again, if the Pelicans want to move off of this nonsense and reset, cool, fine. Here's the guy that you can either hold on to for the rest of the year, let him opt out, and you're fine.
Right.
Or so yeah, and then when at the same time we get off of this 55 player or game a year type of guy, y'all have him, y'all got y'all reset, we got our reset, and everybody's quote unquote happy. And then Jimmy can go somewhere else. He can opt out. He can buy himself out. He can fucking throw a goddamn fit in the corner and go eat beignets in New Orleans. I don't care. But like, this is why, like, there's a couple dark horse teams. This is why I'm like, I keep saying this. Like, Memphis, literally every 2 or 3 years, we just casually do business with Memphis. It might work. It might not work. But that's the other thing I know about these teams too, is you kind of do business with people that are willing to do business with you in the first place. So you will go back to, if I know you make a trade with me, you might be the first person I call. Memphis is sitting there like, hey, the West is actually really good. If we can get some health, or we can get another guy to park next to Ja, if it means we have to get rid of Desmond Bane, quote, or Marcus Smart, I don't care. Like, there's options. There's things out there. And we as the Heat can take those players and either say, okay, we can keep you you fit the timeline, or I'm eating your ass out of here for picks because now we actually have assets.
Regardless of what
year
happens,
props.
I think multiple people are going to be moved. It's not going to be just Jimmy. It may happen in stages. It may be Jimmy to start, maybe all at once in a big trade.
Right.
But I think Terry Rozier ultimately gets moved in the end. Like you said, Duncan could potentially get moved in the end. But I think there's a lot more moving pieces than just Jimmy. There's more ramifications from this than just Jimmy.
His contract makes it impossible. Like I'm a trade machine nerd, and it's hard, even on the trade machine, to make a trade work with any team. If we trade for Desmond Bain, I think Bam might kill himself because we can't have two dinosaurs on the court at the same time. You can't do that. Please don't do that shit, bro. I don't care how good they're gonna be on offense.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. No, look, to your point, because you're right. Like, I do know that about the trade machine. Like, Jimmy's contract is nuts. You have to have a third team step into this. Like, that's the other thing I've stood by the whole time. Like, even if, let's say, like the Suns and the Bradley Beal thing was real, you were still getting a third team in on that. Like, there would and like this is the other thing too. Like in situations like this, in trade scenarios like this, there is always a team that's like sitting there watching, going, "Well, hold up, we've been on the phone with them for like 6 weeks about some shit, but they won't budge. But they want this guy and we want this guy, so we'll just all switch." Like, there are teams that literally watch this shit and they're like, "Yeah, we'll help facilitate." And that's what you're going to need with Jimmy, especially if you want to try and recoup picks to make a swing at like another type of star or something to replace him.
All right, closing thoughts.
Just send him out west, man. Don't keep him anywhere in the east.
Closing thoughts. We're at an hour. We did our football picks. We want to do a little Jimmy content because we know it's prime time. Everybody wants to talk about it. A lot of us are tired of talking about it all day long. But there's also 2,000 people watching right now, which is like, you want to give people what they want. Look, if you have not joined the Discord, off the floor, it's $2.99 a month. You can go in there and talk Heat basketball. The thing went all night. Like, I don't know what time people went to bed last night, but like, that stuff hit after the game. There were people talking about it into the wee hours of night. You can, if you're looking for more Heat content, that's the place to go. I know that there will be more pods. Ethan is flying back tonight. He is literally like at the airport flying right now. So he'll be back. You'll get to hear him.
Can't even take his daughter on vacation without some bullshit.
Like, I feel bad for that guy because he's trying to like piece together and give people some content and, but also enjoy this little bit of a break in the schedule. But closing thoughts, I'll start with Adele and go to Andy and let Ray close us out.
Yeah, just my closing thoughts are, it's an end of an era. And that's one of the things that's getting lost in all of this is that Jimmy provided us with some amazing moments as Miami Heat fans, content creators, for all the people that cover the Heat. The Heat were in a space with Whiteside, James Johnson, Dion Waiters, and it was really a purgatory of sorts. And, he really provided a lot. So I think even though his legacy is going to be tarnished, let's not lose sight of all the great things, the 2 finals appearances, and what could have been if health would have, just a little bit of luck would have been on their side for the health side of things with Goran Dragic and, Tyler and even Jimmy. So I just wanted to close with that. He's a phenomenal player for the Miami Heat, and I'm just ready to move on.
Andy.
Like, imagine to continue that point, if we would have won one of those 2 title runs, that both of them were very winnable, with just a little bit of luck, especially the Lakers one, they would have given him the money. They wouldn't have cared about all this stuff because he would be officially a lifer. He'd be a Heat legend. He might be number 2 on the all-time list. Like, it's sad. And it's sad because it feels like we're going to go back into a 2016, 2017 mode in terms of roster construction, except instead of James Johnson and Dion Waiters, it's Hero and Bam leading the way, which is nice. You got Ware, you got Jovic, you have, young pieces, JJJ, that you're excited about that you could trade for a bigger star in the future. But I don't know, like, Butler made me feel things, bro. Like, I will never forget that Milwaukee series. I will never forget those runs in the COVID. era where we had nothing to do but watch the finals and watch our team, beat the Celtics, the band block. Like, there are memories that are never going to be taken away, and I hope this doesn't tarnish his legacy with us. Like the Shaq departure was similar to this. It wasn't healthy. It was nasty. At the end of the day, they make up. I think at the end of the day, years from now, Jimmy and the Heat organization will make up. They'll be good. Maybe his jersey will be up in the rafters one day. Who knows? It's sad, but it's necessary, and it didn't have to be the way it is, to be very honest. But what can you do about it?
Close us out, Ray.
All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach because I will agree with everybody on this much. Jimmy Butler, for everything that you have done for the Miami Heat, because it was dark, it was dreary, and it was ugly in the interim between Dwayne retiring or leaving, coming back, retired, did all that stuff. You made it fun. You gave me one of the matter of fact, I'll say this right now. That playoff game where he dropped 58 was the best single game performance of a basketball game from one dude that I've ever watched in my whole life. And I have watched basketball since I was 11 years old. But there is only one single person in the Miami Heat's entirety of their history that I will do this for. And I already did it with him. And it was Dwayne. I'm not it's always going to be the front before the back, except for Dwayne. And Dwayne or Jimmy is not Dwayne. So when they trade him, good luck. I wish you the best. I hate that it went like this, but I really want people to stop thinking that the Heat failed Jimmy outright and entirely, because it's not true. There's some shit that went wrong, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you the Heat are not at fault, but they didn't fail him. The shit did not work out. There's a lot of unlucky stuff, and I hope wherever Jimmy goes at the end of this, wherever it may be. Ernie, you too, if you're watching. I hope y'all enjoy yourselves. I hope y'all are blessed. I hope you get everything that you ask for. I do. I genuinely do. I have no ill feelings towards any of these people over what's going on. But Jimmy Butler is not Dwayne Wade. And I'm not going to lose my damn mind because Jimmy Butler asked out for the fourth time in his career from the fourth team that he's been on. Good luck, Jimmy. I hope you get your money. But you're not Dwayne.
I can't say it any better. I'll close with keep the main thing. Trade Terry Rozier, get him out of here. That is what has to be precedent right now. We
Bro, strays, bro. Why are you shooting strays right now?
That's the only way that this gets resolved. Listen, thank you guys for tuning in to Setting the Edge. Thank you for tuning in to our little impromptu Jimmy Butler session. We will have lots of content on 5 Reasons Sports covering actual basketball tomorrow as they play Utah. We also do cover basketball besides the soap opera that is Jimmy Butler right now. So tune in, check out all the content, follow these guys, check out Ray's post-game spaces. Always a good time with Playbook Sports. And we'll see you guys next week for Wild Card Weekend, Setting the Edge. Thank you, guys.